Thanks for joining us here on Capitol Tonight. I'm Karina Kling. The Texas June heat wave continues, with temperatures expected to reach triple digits again this week. Because of that, the state's grid operator, ERCOT, issued another weather warning. This one runs through Friday. ERCOT says there's enough capacity to meet forecasted demand, but it will be monitoring the conditions of the grid closely. A new June peak demand was set last week, and ERCOT says this week could see another record. That's on top of Texas setting new records for weekend energy demand and solar energy use this past weekend. As the heat dome hovers over Texas, one energy expert says if the limits are pushed too far, there could be rolling blackouts. Our Charlotte Scott reports.
As extreme heat grips the state of Texas, residents are wondering, will the electric grid hold up?
At this point, it seems to just kind of be part of living in Texas, unfortunately.
A winter storm in 2021 knocked out power to millions of homes and killed hundreds of Texans. Now, many residents worry the grid will fail again during extreme weather events. And recently, the Texas Supreme Court ruled that the state's power grid operator cannot be sued over the deadly 2021 winter storm. The court said ERCOT, or the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, is a government entity, granting the organization immunity to lawsuits stemming from the freeze. Lawmakers say they've worked to make the grid more reliable, but energy experts say the legislature hasn't achieved that goal yet.
The legislature did nothing in 2021. They all came out, had press conferences, and talked about how great they were and how they'd fix the grid. And the fact is they had not fixed the grid.
Ed Hers, an energy fellow at the University of Houston, says lawmakers missed their chance to make meaningful changes to the grid during the 2021 and 2023 legislative sessions.
Extreme weather.
After the last one, Governor Greg Abbott said the grid was fixed. Since then, he and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick have said there's more work to do as Texas grows. Now, city leaders are doing what they can to help by opening emergency shelters.
Libraries and community centers, senior centers are all open.
Pay attention to your bodies, be aware, and be very careful.
Renewables are helping the grid stay afloat right now, with solar performing especially well. But coal, nuclear, and natural gas power plants still carry the majority of the load.
But at this point, we're counting on everybody to be there. If we lost a significant coal plant or two or three, or we lost half a dozen natural gas plants, we'd be in big trouble.
ERCOT has issued a weather watch this week, saying grid conditions are expected to be normal, but due to forecasted conditions, operating reserves may be lower. Hers doesn't expect a systematic failure like the one during the February freeze in 2021. At most, he says there could be rolling blackouts for an hour or so if demand outpaces supply. Hers also expects electricity bills to rise due to the extreme heat. For Capitol Tonight, I'm Charlotte Scott.
With us now to weigh in further is Michael Weber. He's an energy resources professor at the University of Texas at Austin. Professor Weber, welcome back to the program. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, what are you expecting this week? I mean, do you think we should be worried about rolling blackouts as the other energy expert just warned?
It's going to be hot, which means air conditioners will be on and the demand will set records. But the things to keep in mind is that we have a lot of solar panels, which will really help. And the natural gas power plants and natural gas system are very reliable in the summer. So we should be fine. But if it's a low wind day, if natural gas power plants go offline and we all turn on our air conditioners at the same time, we could have some real trouble.
What about the balance there? I mean, how much are renewables helping the grid right now as you're speaking about the solar?
Right now, renewables are helping a lot. We have built a lot of solar farms in the last year, and those are really working well for us right now. The wind turbines we built over the last 15 years are doing some help, but not as much help as the solar panels. Solar farms really align well with peak demand, which means they work well when it's hot because there's so much sunshine. So we can really thank solar panels for stepping up on that. And then the other sources, nuclear, gas, and coal, have also been generating a lot of power. So we have a good fuel mix right now for the week we need.
What is your take on whether lawmakers did enough to, quote unquote, fix the grid this past legislative session?
The good news is the legislature is paying more attention to it than they were, say, after the 2011 freeze. But I feel like there are a lot of unanswered questions still. I feel like we haven't focused enough on transparency of the gas markets, and gas is a big part of the power sector. And we haven't focused enough on energy efficiency or demand response. So there are other tools in our toolbox we're not using, and frankly, it would be good to use those. So the legislature gets sort of a passing grade for trying, but didn't get us all the way there.
I mean, what kind of major changes do you think that they should, as you're speaking to, just focus on? And do you think that that is something that will continue to be talked about in legislative sessions to come, or do you think it's going to take another big power failure?
I dropped for a second, so I missed your question, but I think you're asking about ongoing attention to the issue. Is that right?
Ongoing attention, and just do you think it's going to take another huge power failure to really draw the attention that it needs?
I think so. Crisis is often a good motivator for action. And we already had the winter crises of 2021 and 2011, and also the freeze just a couple months ago in central Texas. And so if we have a heat wave and the power goes out and people really suffer during the heat wave without air conditioning, that will inspire more action. I worry that we'll blame the wrong thing, though, and take the wrong action. So we need to be sensible about it at the same time.
What kind of additional energy costs should customers anticipate due to the extreme heat?
They can expect that it'll be more expensive. They'll have higher bills. They should do things like pre-cool their homes so that when the power is available in the morning, cool your home down more, then adjust your thermostat up in the afternoon so you keep your home comfortable and safe. But we can expect higher prices for sure. And let's hope the grid hangs in there. I think it will be reliable.
Do you anticipate, a lot of extra charges? We've talked about this a lot just with the changes that lawmakers made during the legislative session, but just higher prices in general for consumers?
We're still paying off the 2021 winter storm, so I think there'll be higher prices from that for years, if not decades. And then a lot of the new things we're doing for the grid will drive up costs for like transmission and maybe battery storage, but will lower our fuel costs. So we won't have to pay for as much, say, natural gas, but we'll pay for transmission and batteries instead. So we might see some upward pressure overall on bills bit by bit, but we won't have the one-time charges like we have with the winter storm in 2021.
Michael Weber, we will have to leave it there. Unfortunately or fortunately, we'll probably be talking to you a lot this summer. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Stay cool, everyone.
You too.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. For more refreshing stories about your community, click the subscribe button over here. You can also download our Spectrum News app and tune in to Channel 55 on Dish and DirecTV to get live news coverage, weather updates every 10 minutes, and more. We'll see you then.